Welcome to Meg Talks, the Move with Meg podcast. I'm Megan Kerrigan, and I will be sharing ideas on how you can become a more consistent and confident dancer that understands your body and mind. Hi guys, and welcome back to Meg Talks, the Irish dance podcast that is all about helping Irish dancers to understand themselves better, to learn, to grow, and also for parents to feel a little bit seen and spoken to as well. So welcome back. I have not done a solo episode in a long time now, so I thought it was about time I came back with a solo episode, and today we're going to be talking about turnout. So if you have turnout trouble, this is for you. We're going to talk about exactly what's holding you back, what the sort of myths that go along with that are, and how we can help you at Move with Meg. So if you've ever been told to just turn your feet out more, this one is for you. I'm going to break down the why turnout feels so hard for so many dancers and the 5 key areas that might be holding you back without you even realizing. So with turnout, what I see lots of dancers doing is forcing the position, and guilty. This is something I definitely did when I was dancing. Turnout wasn't a strong point for me. Sorry, I had a little hiccup there. Turnout wasn't a strong point for me. I definitely could do it if I put my mind to it, but it wasn't natural. My back foot was always sort of twisting and sliding in. When I was traveling, it just sort of left my brain, and so it left my legs. And I see that in so many dancers. When we're on the spot and we're doing a polished piece, it's a lot easier to turn those feet out if it doesn't come naturally to you. But the minute you have to think about and do something else like travel or jump or avoid somebody on the stage or do a more difficult step, that turnout disappears. So many dancers are focusing on turnout and that being their main correction. We've had hundreds of dancers take the Gold Club quiz, which is our onboarding into the Gold Club. So once you purchase the Gold Club, you will lead into step 1, which is taking our quiz, which leads you into one of 5 pathways. And 34% of anyone that's taken that have ended up in the turnout pathway. So you're not alone. It is our biggest result. It is the biggest pathway. And the reason I decided to change up the Gold Club and put that pathway in there was because it's going to help you to understand how to move forwards. Now, turnout is a complex thing. I think and I don't want to badmouth dance teachers here, but I don't think dance teachers even really understand it to the depth that, I don't even understand it to the depth that I probably need to and should. Turnout, it's so complex. It includes so many different areas and involves so many different areas and so many different things being optimal. So being at their best. For example, lower back flexibility and mobility, hip mobility, inner thigh mobility, ankle mobility, knee strength, quad strength, external rotator strength, then like the muscle endurance to be able to hold it there. There's so much to consider when it comes to turnout. But dance teachers and mine, for example, used to just say, turn your feet out more there, turn your feet out more there. And I would just try to do it in the moment, try to drill it. I was not aware that there were all these other things I could be doing outside of class that would make that easier for me. Now, imagine you, like me, had to think about turnout, had to think about straightening your knees, had to think about keeping your arms in. And I'm sure lots of you can relate to all of those. Once you start thinking about another one drops off, and we can't work like that in Irish dancing. And that's why what we do at the Gold Club and what we do at Move with Meg is try to give you the tools so you don't have to be thinking about all the things. And what you can actually be thinking about is the performance, relaxing, being there. When you're side stage and you're thinking, right, think turnout on this bit, think kick height on this bit, think straighter knees on this bit, you've got so much to think about. You can't actually be present and enjoy the moment. Not that it's enjoyable when you are competing, but we want you to be able to be as relaxed as possible and to know that the work that you put in the lead up to that competition or performance has and is going to make that day a lot easier, more comfortable and more beneficial and better for you, basically. So The 5 turnout focus areas that I often see as the root of the problem for dancers. And this is also a key thing. So many dancers just do what somebody else is doing for their turnout, but yours might be related to something different. Like your friend at dancing might have a really tight lower back, but you actually need to stretch your inner thighs. And your inner thighs are holding your turnout back. Their lower back is holding their turnout back. If you do back stretches, it's not going to fast track you to improving that turnout as knowing and understanding your body and knowing exactly what to do. And that's why we use the what, why, how method, because what is turnout. The reason why is the next really key thing that's so important for dancers to know before they get moved into the how. And that is going to mean, number one, we are targeting exactly what's specific for you and you need to work on, but also that you'll see that progress faster because we are working on the exact thing that is the one main thing that's holding you back. So I'm going to talk you through the 5 steps of this 5-day pathway so you have a little bit more of an understanding. And then I'm sure lots of you will be itching to get in there and give it a go to work out which day is yours. So first thing, lower back flexibility and mobility. Sounds crazy. It is one of the fundamental things for Irish dancers that still does not get spoken about, does not get shared, does not get, if anybody does one-to-one with me, we always do cat and cow. If anybody joins a stretch class with me, we always do cat and cow. Cat and cow is lengthening the lower back. Our lower back is so tight as Irish dancers, especially as if we've started young and danced for a good few years. We're super, super tight in there. And I still struggle with that area today because I didn't have the tools that I'm trying to give you guys. So lower back, if you think about it, if the muscles in the lower back are tight, that lower back connects into your hips, and your hips are the key area that is, what's the word? That we rely on to be able to rotate. So you're able to rotate your leg inside your hip to get into that turnout position. Now, if your lower back is tight and not moving properly, that knocks on to the muscles that connect to it, which are the muscles that are around and surrounding that hip. And if they're tight, then your turnout is going to be impacted. So can we see how lower back flexibility and like the mobility of your spine in that lower position, because our spine connects into our hip joint and the pelvis, if that is tight and not moving as well as we want it to and not mobile, then our hips aren't going to be as mobile. So can we see how that can impact it? Often dancers don't even know their back is tight until they start stretching it and they're like, whoa, I didn't realize this, right? So that's number 1. Number 2, hip mobility. So as we said, your lower back flexibility and mobility might impact your hip mobility, but hip mobility could be just something that you struggle with. So mine are quite tight. That's because I do a lot of glute and squat and stuff like that work. So everything around there is tight and locked in. That means I can't rotate my leg as well as I would want to have good turnout. So hip mobility and being able to move the leg inside the hip joint is something that could be holding you back too. Then we've got our inner thigh or adductor flexibility. So the muscles on the inside of your thigh, those, if they are super tight, and they do get tight for dancers because we use them to bring our legs across our body, which is a position we want to be in all the time, right? So those muscles get super tight, especially if, again, you've danced young. So you've got them really, really strong, and then you grow. The length of your muscles doesn't change when you grow, just the length of your bones do, right? So if your muscle's really, really tight, it means it's shorter. And then your bone that it's attached to grows. That means that you might have been able to turn your feet out when you were younger, and all of a sudden you've had a growth spurt and you find it really hard. That might be the reason. Those inner thighs need a lengthening. So they need to be long, but they also need to stay strong too. So your inner thigh or adductor flexibility might be the reason. Your glute flexibility. Now, this is an interesting one. You think stronger glutes is always sort of better, but again, in the same way as if our inner thigh muscles are super, super tight, they don't move as well, or we can't use them as much because they're shorter. That's the exact same for our piriformis muscle, which is one of the only muscles in the body that does a two-way direction. I think it is the only muscle. So it turns our feet out and in. We use it for both of those. Now, if that's super, super tight, that means that we can't get it out and hold it out in that position because it's too short. Okay. So loosen out that muscle. And that's a hard one to get to because it's situated right inside under a couple of different layers of muscle as well. But we need to strengthen and lengthen that muscle for our turnout. And then the final thing is adding strength to those external rotators. So the piriformis being one of them, but there's lots of other muscles that we need to be able to hold turnout. So if you're a dancer that starts with good turnout, right, and then towards the end of the dance, as you get tired, it's less and less, the external rotator strength and your sort of stability and muscular endurance in this is what you need to be focusing on. So if we think about that, hopefully it makes a little bit more sense to you now why it's important to know the different areas, but equally like you hopefully thinking, or you might already have known some of this, but some of you might be thinking, whoa, I didn't realize there was so much involved with my turnout. Sorry, thirsty work, all this talking about turnout. So my personal experience of turnout, as I said earlier, was that mine wasn't great. It wasn't natural. I had to really, really work on it. But my working on it was just drill and drill and drill, which now when you know and you look at the 5 things that we spoke about, 2 of those, actually 3 of those were really to do with 4 of those, actually 4 of those. So if I drill and drill and drill and drill and practice and practice and practice and over practice, my lower back's going to get tight. So that's going to impact my turnout. My hips aren't going to be as mobile because my lower back's tighter and all the muscles around my hip are tighter because they're shorter and stronger. So that's going to impact my turnout. My inner thigh, my adductors, my inner thigh muscles are also going to be really, really shortening, meaning that I can't turn out and cross over as easy. And my glutes are going to get super strong, super short. So actually drilling and drilling and drilling and drilling, although it's really good for muscle memory and for your mind-body connection, without doing this extra work on the side to lengthen those glutes, to lengthen the inner thighs, to keep the hips mobile, to keep the lower back moving well, is actually going to have a negative impact on your turnout in the long run. I know, mind blown moment, right? How crazy is that? So genuinely, it's so, so important to understand your reason for struggling with your turnout and add that and add those movements into your weekly, daily routines to make sure that the practice you are doing isn't negatively impacting your dancing. Now, if you went back and told me this, I would have been delighted because it means that the hours and hours and hours that I was putting into practice and drill and like killing myself to get this turnout better could have been resolved and could have been improved, number 1, faster, but number 2, in an easier way. So I could have been sitting in my butterfly stretch while I was watching the TV, so I was actually getting some rest in at the same time as working on my turnout rather than being in the garage drilling and drilling and drilling. I could have been doing my cat and cow in the morning and evening instead of doing an extra 20 minutes of drilling that one section. Can we see how, yes, it's important to understand this, but also if it's going to make life a little bit easier and fast track your progress, why are we not doing this? If you are listening sort of to this as a dancer or as a parent and thinking, oh my gosh, that sounds exactly like me. Like I can turn them out, but I can't cross them over. And, all those little things that I spoke about as we went through those, then you need to go join the Gold Club and find yourself, do the quiz. I'm guessing you'll end up in the turnout pathway and work through that to make sure that you deep dive, understand better your key correction, which is turnout, and then be guided by that in how you use the rest of the library. So then from there, what I advise dancers to do is go to the turnout section. So let's say hip mobility was your key thing. Each section in our library is broken down by correction. So you'll go to the turnout library, you go into the turnout section, open it up. If you know that it was mobility, you're going to look within there for classes that say mobility, and you're going to choose 2 classes, and you're going to work on those 2 classes for 4 weeks. just those 2 classes, just that specific thing. So bringing it down, focusing on that one thing, focusing on that one correction that you now know why is your correction, and the how you're going to improve it is to focus on that one thing for the next 4 weeks and track your progress and share them with us inside the members club, inside our community section. We don't just give you the exercises, we explain the reason why. And I think that and tracking your progress are the key factors that keep dancers improving and keep dancers doing the moves we've all been guilty of. Yes, even as an adult, even nowadays, I go, right, that's it. I'm going to go for a walk every single day this week. And it just doesn't get done. Why? Because no one really knows that I'm going to do it. So the accountability isn't there. But also, what's the progress? How am I going to track this? How am I going to know that this is what I need to do? Having that deeper understanding, if I explain to myself, right, going for a walk every day clears your mind and means that you're so much more focused for work. Okay, I've now got a real good reason why I'm going to do that. And then the how is getting it done and tracking my steps and ticking it off on my wall calendar, because that makes me feel good. Having that and then being able to share my progress and write into a community, say, listen guys, got it done every single day this week. Look, here's my step count. Or listen, guys, got my turnout class done twice for the last 4 weeks. Look at the difference from when I started to where I am now. Seeing and sharing that is the most beneficial part of this, because it keeps you on track and holds you accountable. Turnout doesn't get better just by dancing anymore. It gets better by understanding what's holding you back. If you want support, structure, and real progress, then the Turnout pathway is waiting for you inside of the Gold Club. So what I'll do is I'll pop a link in the show notes here. You can also, I'll pop a link to our app, where if you download it and set up an account, you can get access to our Turnout free section. So we've got a couple of moves in there that work on Turnout, but they are just a little less explained, and the reasoning why and understanding which one's specific for you isn't there within that. So we do have that free resource, but equally, if you're really, really keen to improve your turnout in the fastest way possible and understand it more, then I would suggest join the Gold Club. It's £39 a month. You can join for £39 and cancel at any point. So if you wanted to go in and just do that pathway to understand yourself a little bit more, that's absolutely fine. You can cancel at any point. There are other options. There's a 6-month option if you want to really show your dancer that this is about commitment and consistency, not just about a quick fix. Then there is a 6-month option, which makes it cheaper than $39 a month. And you've also got a year option too. So be sure to click the link in the show notes and check that out. And like I say, I'll also pop the link for our app, because you can download that and use our free resources for Turnout too. Thank you for listening. I hope you've got a better understanding of yourself or your dancer. And if you do have any questions, please do follow us on any social media. We have TikTok and Instagram and Facebook at Move with Meg with 2 G's on all of those. Go find us, send me a little DM and let me know if this helped you. Thank you for joining. Be back soon for another episode, and I will see you all very soon. Lots of love. Thank you for listening to Meg Talks. Don't forget to share your favourite parts of the episode and tag us on Instagram at Move with Meg with 2 G's. And as a special treat, head to movewithmeg.co.uk/Fesh Day Warmup to access your free video. See you next time.